tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We've been asking people to rethink St. Patrick's Day, come for lunch as opposed to coming for dinner.
With liquor sales stopping at 8 p.m., pub owners expect another subdued St. Patrick's Day. Also,
but we just need somebody who has that authority to permit this to happen.
Fears that Chinatown seniors will be left behind in BC's COVID vaccine rollout. And
I feel pressure, but I also enjoy pressure a little bit, at least I tell myself I do.
Vancouver skateboarders on a roll to chasing an Olympic dream.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a terrible construction accident on a BC island. 2
men have died in an accident at a work site. Dan Burrett joins us live with more. Dan, what happened?
It was just before 11 this morning. The RCMP says first responders were called to a toppled crane at a construction site on Taylor Road on Gabriola Island. It's just off Nanaimo, as you can see there. Police say a boom of a concrete pump truck broke and fell on those 2 workers. An air ambulance and several other ground ambulances raced to the scene, but the 2 men died on site. The coroner and WorkSafe BC are now trying to figure out what led to their deaths. The fire chief says the 2 victims live on the island and were known throughout that close-knit community.
We respond to calls of family and friends, so when we're responding to those calls, we want to just make sure that we take care of our first responders, our paramedics, and doctors that are responding.
Mounties do not believe the men's deaths are suspicious, and their names have not yet been released. Anita, Mike?
All right, thanks, Dan. Dan Burrett reporting live tonight.
A Vancouver woman's goal to get the COVID vaccine to all the seniors in her building has turned into a logistical nightmare.
She says having someone come to them makes the most sense, but the province is only doing individual bookings.
Our Andrea Ross spoke to her about her worries that they're falling through the cracks.
We just need somebody who has that authority to permit this to happen.
Parveen Kataria is trying to be a good neighbor. She's stepped up to help all of the seniors in her building get vaccinated against COVID-19.
Not all these seniors have family members that would be able to do this for them.
She thought someone could come to the building and vaccinate them all at once. It's what the province did in long-term care homes.
We usually have flu vaccinations that come straight to our building. So I was surprised that there wasn't the same situation for the COVID vaccine with these seniors. So I do think it probably has fallen through the cracks.
Kataria says having the seniors vaccinated all at once at home is the easiest and safest option. Otherwise, she'd have to coordinate around 20 individual appointments, and getting them there is another issue.
Oh my God, there's no bus. Yeah, walking maybe 1 hour. It's a big rain, you know. That is no good.
Kataria has reached out to the Health Ministry and her MLA to ask about group bookings. She hasn't gotten a clear answer on if or when it could happen.
There's been nobody that's been able to help.
BC's Health Ministry tells CBC News mobile clinics are available. Anyone who can't leave their home to get vaccinated should tell the call taker when they book their appointment. The ministry says they will get a call back about having a mobile clinic meet them where they are. Kataria just doesn't want to see anyone left behind.
We will make sure that our seniors are taken care of. We will just do that. That's what we will do. But we can't guarantee the same is happening for all of the other buildings.
The elders are eager to get back to doing what they love.
Travel, and go to dim sum together.
But first, they need to get vaccinated. Andrea Ross, CBC News, Vancouver.
And for the second time in a week, there are no new COVID-19 deaths to report tonight. But the news isn't as good when it comes to BC's other numbers. Have a look. 556 new cases as our province's trend line continues to slowly rise. Hospitalizations are also up, and the number of people in critical care is now at its highest since December 22nd. On a positive note, there's the number. BC vaccinated the most people yet in a single day.
The BC's Teachers Federation is again calling for masks to be worn in elementary schools. They're using new data which shows K-7 teachers are contracting COVID-19 at triple the rate of high school teachers. The Safe BC numbers show 80 elementary school teachers have gotten COVID-19. This is more than 3 times higher than the 25 claims by those teaching grades 8 to 12. Unlike high school campuses, elementary schools currently don't have masks mandates. It's unclear if the teachers contracted COVID at school or in the community.
All 4 of our country's approved COVID vaccine makers are looking at potential booster shots in the future to target new variants.
And as Anita Bathe reports, they would be similar to the seasonal flu shot.
Julio knows the importance of getting his COVID-19 vaccine.
Happy. It's a relief.
And what are he and his wife Georgette looking forward to now?
For the second one, that's for sure.
And it's likely that a COVID-19 booster shot will be needed down the road. And it could eventually look like the flu shot campaign.
One is if the excellent immunity that we get from the vaccines seem to wane over time, and we need to boost the immune response. The other possible reason why we might need a booster, so to speak, is if these variants that we're seeing become more and more problematic and they spread in a way that make us fear that we need a slightly revised vaccine down the road.
Immunity response is high for all 4 vaccines approved in Canada, but the companies are still adapting.
I think J&J, as well as all of the other vaccine manufacturers, are exploring the potential of developing revised vaccines that include the B1351 variant, the resistant variant from South Africa, or others.
Moderna has started testing a variant-specific booster in people who have already received their full vaccine, as well as a one-shot dose in those who haven't gotten any vaccines at all.
When we look at what's happening with the variants and how the virus is mutating, one thing we want for sure is to stay ahead of it.
Pfizer-BioNTech is also looking at what a 3rd dose could do. A booster is being studied among people in the U.S. who got their initial 2 doses more than 6 months ago to see if it offers better protection against variants. AstraZeneca says it's too early to say if or when booster vaccinations will be needed. But clinical trials are ongoing to better understand the durability of its vaccine. A tweaked vaccine that will be used as a booster will still need regulatory authorization from Health Canada. Anita Bathe, CBC News, Ottawa.
We are on the eve tonight of the 2nd St. Patrick's Day of this pandemic.
Restaurants and pubs say, like every other celebration this year, it's going to be much quieter than usual.
But as Isabel Regam reports, they, along with festival organizers, hope it's better than what they experienced last year.
The beer will be flowing at Irish Heather tomorrow, but nowhere nearly as much as there would be on a pre-pandemic St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the busiest day of our year. It's a week worth of business in one day.
Sean Heather typically orders 30 kegs for the Irish celebration that draws large crowds. This year, he ordered 12. Still, the pub owner says anything is better than the 0 kegs used last year.
Last year was a surreal experience. I stood right here with my wife. It was 8 o'clock at night and the place was closed, empty. We never want to go through that again. So.
The eve of St. Patrick's Day 2020, pubs and restaurants were ordered to shut down the entire day March 17th. This year, they have been ordered to stop serving alcohol at 8 p.m., just like New Year's Eve. If establishments offer full meal service, they can remain open after 8, but no booze.
It's just about doing something that's normal, like being open.
The Celtic Fest is another Vancouver celebration that had to call things off last minute. This year, organizers have had months to put together a virtual event.
Looking forward to checking out Celtic Fests online this year.
The president of the Irish Women's Network of BC has prepared some of the festival's virtual sessions as a way to inform the public about the day's significance.
The green beer and the green hats and that has happened. And, that's, I think a lot of cultures have that more sort of, I suppose, fun side. to things. It's not the way we like to represent St. Patrick's Day because there is a lot of culture and heritage.
She says there has been a silver lining to moving online. The Celtic Fest can now be enjoyed by folks beyond Vancouver. Vancouver Police says given St. Patrick's Day is one of the busier nights, it will have extra police officers in the downtown core to ensure public safety, and also this year ensuring pubs and restaurants are complying with health orders. Police will also be responding to complaints about unlawful gatherings inside private homes. With just a few hours' notice of the shutdown last year, Heather says most of the stock went to family and friends.
We made 30 litres of Irish stew, amongst other things. And, well, my kids were eating Irish stew for weeks afterwards.
That's one thing that won't be back on the menu this year.
We didn't do it. No stew.
Isabel Regam, CBC News, Vancouver.
For the second year in a row, the annual Vaisakhi parade in Surrey has been canceled because of COVID-19. The Surrey event is one of the largest in the world outside of India, typically drawing more than 500,000 people from across the region. The parade was slated for April 24th, but organizers say there's no way for an event of this size to take place safely right now. They're suggesting celebrating within close family groups instead. Vaisakhi originated as a harvest festival in Punjab, India, but it also represents the creation of the Khalsa in the Sikh religion. Vancouver's parade has yet to be officially canceled, but it isn't likely to go forward.
The Tri-Cities region is one of the fastest growing areas in Metro Vancouver.
But one big development in Port Coquitlam might not be taking off as fast as some business owners might like.
As John Hernandez reports tonight, the pandemic has made a tough sell even tougher.
It's no secret that this Port Coquitlam neighborhood is on the rise. Just ask the people who have lived here for years.
It's grown substantially, and the new businesses that you see, the business parks, aren't filled yet, but they probably will be.
Filling slowly, but not so surely. This sprawling area known as the Fremont Village has been in development for more than a decade, with these residential towers opening their doors about 2 years ago. But at the bottom, a swath of vacant commercial units.
We sort of expected that there might be a bit more movement, and I think the pandemic slowed down a lot of that growth, right? Nobody's super excited to jump into things.
Andrew Coffey is the owner of the Hive Climbing and Fitness Club. It's one of the few businesses in this complex. After more than a year of negotiations, Coffey took over the space in February 2020, a month before the pandemic hit.
We were already jumped in with both feet, so we couldn't really back out, and you know, it's going well so far in terms of at least the people who were allowed to have in here.
In a neighboring complex anchored by Walmart, a pair of restaurants recently shut down, citing losses incurred by the pandemic. Further afield, rows of commercial real estate still looking for renters. This realtor says there's plenty of potential in the area, but right now, it's simply a numbers game.
In terms of the commercial vacancies, you know, my understanding just from talking to commercial brokers is that a lot of their vacancies is just because it's hard to make the numbers work here.
Fremont Village developer Ani says it feels positive about the future of its project. The company has applied to have this area rezoned so it would be more appealing to smaller retails. As for those who are already in it for the long haul,
we are still believe in this location as a really, really great spot.
A belief that could be contagious. Coming soon signs an indication that this project could be turning the corner, just as many hope to put the pandemic in the rear view. John Hernandez, CBC News, Port Coquitlam.
A man is in custody and facing several charges after allegedly sideswiping a marked police car at a high speed and then crashing his pickup truck into two other police cruisers. Both of them were parked. Nanaimo RCMP alleges the driver was aggressive.
The police officer saw this individual strike two police cars, and then the suspect vehicle actually drove into the building. The police officer came up behind and pinned the truck to the building. The driver then got out in a very combative stance, charged the police officer. The police officer was forced to use his taser.
Police say officers tasered the man twice, but also used pepper spray before making an arrest. In total, if you've lost count, 4 police cars were damaged in the incident.
The family of a Merritt cowboy who went missing has doubled the reward for finding their son. A $30,000 reward is now being offered to anyone who can find Ben Tyner. Tyner disappeared more than 2 years ago, and police believe he is dead. The 33-year-old was last seen leaving his compound on horseback. The horse was found 2 days later. RCMP believe Tyner is a victim of homicide.
A man is badly hurt after being involved in a fight that led to a shooting on Highway 99 in Surrey last night. A number of people called police around 7:30 after hearing two men fighting and then shots. Police arrived to find one of the men had been hit with a bullet.
The person who had received the wounds was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition, and the other individual was arrested by officers on scene and taken into custody.
Sturco says it appears the incident may be related to drug trafficking, but it doesn't appear at this time that the shooting is related to the ongoing gang activity.
The federal government is backtracking tonight on a regulation that BC spot prawn harvesters warned would destroy their industry. Earlier this month, an arm of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans announced changes to the interpretation of a regulation. It said, effective immediately, frozen at sea tubbing of spot prawns was illegal. Today's About Face is a reinterpretation of that rule. Now spot prawns have to be made available for onboard inspectors who will be enforcing size limits.
Well, skateboarding will be making its Olympic debut this summer at the Tokyo Games.
It's perhaps not surprising that a number of locals are in the hunt to earn a qualifying spot.
As Karen Larson reports, Vancouver has long been a mecca for the sport.
When Vancouver pro Adam Hopkins first got hooked on skateboarding, he never imagined that one day he'd be vying for a spot on the Canadian Olympic team.
It's kind of crazy to be here at this point. With Olympics being on the table, that was never something as a skateboarder that we really thought about. I was more on the road, traveling, filming videos, shooting photos, doing that kind of thing.
Same goes for Andy Anderson. The White Rock professional is a former world freestyle champion, recognized as one of the most creative skaters in the world.
Nothing's really changed except how much respect I get from other people. You know what I mean? I'm still just a skateboarder, but now because they put this sport in the Olympics, now people want to get me on the news.
Getting in the news and on the Olympic program has its benefits. Purists might not be keen on the sportification of skateboarding, but with a potential audience in the billions, there's an upside.
I've heard stats about skateboarding during COVID, and skateboard sales went up 300%. Because it's a non-contact sport, so you could do it, and be safe within the protocols and stuff like that. Maybe, you add the Olympics into that. Like, I think we're about to see a boom in skateboarding.
Both Hopkins and Anderson are in the hunt to earn one of the 20 spots in Tokyo for the men's park discipline. COVID-19 has thrown a wrench into the schedule of qualifying events, but pandemic willing, selection should be nailed down in early summer.
It's been kind of a rat race, I guess you could say, but at the end of the day, you just kind of have to trust in the process and wait for when it's time to go again.
I feel pressure, but I also enjoy pressure a little bit, at least I tell myself I do.
Karen Larson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now. Nice day to get in some rails or some curbs, or I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Some ollies.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Good.
Oh. That's the only one I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. If you're out with a new skateboard, if you're one of those new sales, or if you're a skate or die, I'll say a skateboarder, then today was the day. We've got another dry day out there. Lots of blue sky, although we did see a few more cloud with a little bit of a trough sneaking across the south coast, but nice and dry and crisp. Another cold one today. Let me take you through the current temperatures because our temperature trend is changing. We're at a 7 at YVR, same temperature we were at this time yesterday. But as we head into the overnight, a few more clouds and a change in the wind direction should keep our temperatures above the freezing mark. For those of you who had to scrape the cars this morning, and some of us did across the south coast, we should see the early morning frost not there tomorrow. So high pressure has been the story for the start of the week, and that goes for most of BC. This approaching low is already bringing a few showers tonight to the north coast of Vancouver Island, but this low is actually our story. That first low won't quite get to us, so that's why we get by with another dry Wednesday, but a cloudier Wednesday. So tomorrow, look for just a few patches of blue rather than a mainly sunny day, but it will be dry, and I will track out that offshore low that will be our rainmaker for Thursday and Friday coming up later on in the show.
All right, Joe, thanks. We will talk to you again in a bit.
Sounds good.
Well, even though Graham Nope and his 89-year-old mother live in different time zones, the pair got to share a special moment at the same time.
When Nope called his mom, who lives in Victoria, he says he was shocked to find out they were both rolling up their sleeves together, even though they live provinces apart. We caught up with them on their appointment day.
I'm excited. This is it's been a hard year, a difficult year for so many people. And, this virus has kept us apart, and this vaccine is going to bring us back together. So I'm really excited. It's unbelievable. I phoned my mother on Saturday, and we were chatting about a variety of things. And she said, "I've got great news. I'm getting my vaccine on Monday." And I said, "Mom, so am I. That's fantastic. What time are you getting it?" She said 9:50 in the morning, and she's on Pacific time. And I said, "My appointment is 12:50. We're getting our shots at the exact same time." I haven't seen my mother in almost a year and a half. We haven't been able to see each other for obvious reasons. And so now at the same time we're getting this, it's going to bring us back together. There's a risk to everything. All vaccines have a certain minor element of risk. Not getting the vaccine has, in my opinion, a greater risk. I feel great. It was easy, it was painless, simple, quick, very informative. Nick in there is fantastic. They're just an awesome group of people, and it's done. So I'm feeling terrific. This is a two-dose vaccine anyway, but we can still spread it, and these variants are getting worse. So yes, I'll be taking all the right precautions until we're advised otherwise.
Hello.
Hi, Mom. It's me. How are you?
I am fine. How are you doing?
I'm great. Did you get your vaccine?
I did, and everything went so smoothly.
Oh, good. Yeah.
They were really so well organized, and it was just wonderful. They wasn't too crowded, and everybody was so nice.
Oh,
it was great.
That's fantastic.
How about you? Did you get yours?
Yep, same time. Well, I'm just excited that we get to see each other now. Finally, it's been a long time that we've been apart, and now that we both have it, we can make plans to see each other.
Oh, that is great. I am really looking forward to you booking a trip and coming out here because it's been so long.
I know.
But anyway, when we get together, we're going to celebrate.
We sure are, and you've been so brave throughout all of this and so positive. So you've been an inspiration, and I just can't wait to come out so we can have some fun and be together again. We'll talk to you soon, Mom.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for calling, dear.
Okay. Love you too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Ian Waddell, a BC politician who had a front row seat to decades of political history, has died. Waddell began his political career in 1979, winning a seat for the federal NDP, where he became the point person on Indigenous issues. He vigorously fought the Free Trade Agreement and the Meech Lake Accord. Waddell eventually lost his federal seat and pivoted to BC politics. As minister in several portfolios, he is credited with helping grow BC's film industry into a billion-dollar business and helping Vancouver secure the 2010 Olympics. Ian Waddell was 78.
Lots of tributes pouring in today for Ian Waddell. Yeah. Okay, a reminder, you can also watch our newscast live on CBC Gem.
CBC Vancouver is also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
A high school in Alberta has been rocked by the killing of a 17-year-old student Just ahead, what investigators are saying about the victim and the man now facing charges.
It's coming up on 624. Thanks for staying with us tonight during our commercial-free live stream. Okay, it's time to take a trip to Anne of Green Gables' Avonlea Village, but this one is in Quebec, not PEI.
Yes, the fictional village is much smaller and has been built on a large table over the last 8 years. The CBC caught up with the creator to see why she made it.
Always been a huge fan of Anne of Green Gables, and I love PEI as well. So I wanted to model something that is special to me. So when I bought my condo 8 years ago and I started to build a village, so I decided to go for something that is related to PEI and Anne of Green Gables. This is the Avonlea Village that I made over the past 8 years. So we're now in my living room at home. This is some kind of like my little baby here. Actually, this is a standard scale, which is called the N scale. So it's pretty small. So here's my hand. Here's a buggy here. And you can see some figures. It took me about 800 hours to build the whole village here. So in 8 years. And then 3 years ago, I started the second village, which is just underneath. Still a work in progress, but so far I've been spending about 400 hours because my skills just get better over time. So I like to just redo some structure. So now I'm really proud of the third version of the Green Gables house that is in the village right now. This is an example here that I made. And all the sand here in the village here is from PEI. I would say a layout is never done. There's always something to change or to redo. I don't think about something else. I just focus myself on what I have to do. And once I'm done, I feel happy. I feel calm, peaceful.
I can't remember. Have you been to PEI?
I have not. I would love to go.
Yes, or as they call it in the Maritimes, the island, kind of like we do with Vancouver.
Yeah.
Go, put it on your list. I know you like to travel, and Anne of Green Gables, of course, is a must-see.
Absolutely.
PEI.
All right, we'll be back in a few moments with more COVID-19 news from across the country and around the world.
A high school south of Edmonton has been rocked by the stabbing of a 17-year-old student.
A 19-year-old man has been charged with first-degree murder.
And as Rafi Boudjikanian reports, police say the victim and the suspect knew each other.
Throughout the morning, students at Christ the King School in Leduc, as well as community members, have been bringing flowers to lay outside the building. People inside the school have then been taking those flowers inside. The school is shut today. It will be so for the rest of the week, but police officers are here, resource officers are here to offer mental health and psychological support to the students who need it. Not only was Jennifer Winkler a student here, so was her alleged assailant. It's hit everyone really hard.
We're a really tight community, and a lot of the teachers are really great friends with the students. I'm really great friends with the teachers. And there's a lot of feelings, a lot of people are crying, and you really just gotta be there for them.
She would have her own group of friends, and you always see her laughing and smiling and stuff with them. So it's really just a shame.
The RCMP have not gone into much detail into what happened here. They've told media that there was a violent assault inside a classroom at the school yesterday, that the suspect then fled on foot. Police cars as well as a helicopter looked for him yesterday, found him in someone's backyard. The school division as well as the mayor of Leduc have told news outlets that the victim, Jennifer Winkler, was stabbed to death, that she was injured, airlifted to hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. Dylan Putney, the suspect, is due in court on Thursday. Rafi Bujikani, CBC News, Leduc, Alberta.
A national immunization advisory body is now recommending giving the AstraZeneca vaccine to those over the age of 65.
But as Christine Birak reports, the recommendation is causing more confusion.
This much is clear. Canada's National Advisory Group on Vaccines says they've seen enough data to recommend seniors over 65 get the AstraZeneca shot.
So easy to say now that we should have, but moving forward, we did that in all good faith.
What's confusing people now is this recommendation. While all available vaccines in Canada are safe and effective, based on efficacy, Pfizer and Moderna should be prioritized for those at highest risk.
In the AstraZeneca trial, there were less people 65 years and over, which could have made the vaccine estimate much less precise.
Meaning real-world data has now shown the vaccine is effective in seniors. But AstraZeneca's clinical trial didn't offer enough data to determine just how effective.
It's a very hard message for people to understand.
Experts say the advisory group is now awaiting new data from the U.S. showing precise efficacy of the shot in seniors. Then guidelines will likely change again.
The fact remains, a lot of this is going to get sorted out in the next couple months. The challenge is, though, is once the reputation of the vaccine's been damaged, will it ever get it back?
Still, there are Canadians over the age of 65 that now eagerly want the AstraZeneca vaccine. But based on the advisory group's original guidelines, most provinces are only offering it to people aged 60 to 64.
We get everyone lined up, and all of a sudden, without notice, today, now we can move the goalpost again. So now we have to change everything.
At 65, Stephen Weinrib is hoping changes to the AstraZeneca rollout will now help get him a shot.
I think the risk is higher for me if I don't take something, and that's my decision.
At the same time, Canadian health officials say they're keeping a close eye on cases of blood clots in Europe.
There is currently no indication that the vaccine caused the observed events.
Experts insist the system is working to protect Canadians, and so too is this vaccine. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
And Moderna has started studying the safety and effectiveness of its COVID vaccine on children. The company plans to enroll just over 6,700 kids in the U.S. as well as here in Canada. The study is in its mid to late stages and will involve kids between 6 months to 12 years old. A separate study began last December when the company's mRNA-based vaccines were being tested on children aged 12 to 18. The Moderna vaccine is currently approved for adults 18 and over.
Thousands of unaccompanied children are crossing into the U.S. from Mexico.
So many are arriving at the border that officials are struggling to shelter them all. The surge has been growing since President Joe Biden ended the Trump administration policy of turning children back. But the number of migrants is now overwhelming some border facilities.
Tonight, Susan Ormiston takes us inside one of the migrant shelters.
This is a respite shelter in McAllen, Texas, near the U.S.-Mexican border. All of the people here, families and young children, arrived recently in the United States, many of them crossing the Rio Grande River with their families. They were apprehended by Border Patrol and sent to a detention center nearby. And then they come here for processing. This group here arrived in the morning. They'll get all their papers processed. They've all had COVID tests, and if they're negative, they're allowed to come to this shelter. For a few nights, maybe 1 or 2 days, this group over here has stayed here. They will move on to family members or sponsor families in the United States. But clearly, the numbers are surging here. and the capacity is dwindling. So FEMA has been called in to try to build more shelters suitable for all these young children arriving. President Biden is under increasing pressure to manage this current surge on the border. Many of these migrants telling us, coming from Central American countries, that they came believing that the Biden administration would be more empathetic to allowing them to pursue their asylum claims, pent-up demand over the last several years. Susan Ormiston, CBC News in McAllen, Texas.
So, are we ready for a future without masks? Just ahead tonight, why we shouldn't be letting our guard down just yet.
Former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher is in Canada tonight as she wraps up a week-long speaking tour of North America. It's her first visit to Canada since leaving office last November. Thatcher, who is the daughter of a grocer, looked quite at home when she toured a supermarket owned by a Vancouver businessman. He paid Thatcher an undisclosed amount of money to deliver a speech to some of his executives. Tonight, she flew east to be the guest of Prime Minister Mulroney. She'll spend the night with the Mulroney family at the official retreat at Harrington Lake. Thatcher flies back to Britain tomorrow. The Queen and Prince Philip sailed into Vancouver Harbor today. It was the start of a jam-packed day of sightseeing. Eve Savory reports.
It was both a typical and a non-typical Vancouver welcome. Typical in the hundreds of small boats that escorted the Britannia under the Lions Gate Bridge. Untypical because in rainy Vancouver, the sun came out. In 3 years, Vancouver will host a World's Fair, Expo 86. So today, the Queen pushed the button that started the cement mixer that symbolizes construction of the Canadian Pavilion for the fair. In fact, there is always something to see. A building to open. A hospital to visit when you're a queen. But the crowds don't really care what she's doing as long as they get to see her.
Yeah, but I sort of got some shots to the back of the head.
Then this afternoon, British Columbia decided to throw a party. A party for 38,000 people and the Queen.
Over 150 countries will come here for Expo 86, invited today by the Queen.
I would now like to extend to all the peoples of the world an invitation from the people of Canada to visit the World Exposition, which will take place in Vancouver in 1986.
That's the sound of 7,000 voices, children's voices, singing the theme song for Expo 86. The stadium is huge, the Queen a tiny figure, but it was enough. They saw her.
It took our heart. It's so spontaneous, you know, and so beautiful.
There's something thrilling about her. She just sends shivers up my spine.
She's king.
Vancouver is usually a restrained city, but today, for the Queen, 38,000 people let go. Eve Savory, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here are some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News. 2 people are dead after a construction site accident on Gabriola Island. This morning, a boom of a concrete pump truck broke and landed on the 2 workers. Both men were pronounced dead at the scene.
There's been nobody that's been able to help.
A Vancouver woman's goal to vaccinate all the seniors in her building has turned into a logistical nightmare. She says having someone come to them makes the most sense, but province is only doing individual bookings. Many of the seniors don't speak English and will have a hard time getting to an appointment. The woman is worried they're falling through the cracks.
BC teachers are once again calling for masks to be worn in elementary schools, but this time they're using new data to back up their case. WorkSafe BC numbers show elementary teachers have contracted COVID-19 at triple the rate of secondary school teachers. It's unclear, though, whether the virus was caught in the school setting.
Well, with vaccines rolling out, many people are starting to think about a future without masks.
And perhaps they're wondering if they can start taking fewer precautions.
Wikidopia looks into why experts worry people might let their guard down too soon.
After a dismal year, there's an unmistakable optimism in the air.
Very excited. We'd like everything to go back to normal. Are you vaccinated? He's vaccinated.
As more people finally get the shot, a sense of collective relief is starting to settle in.
I think it's going to be some sort of a liberation, from all this stress.
But will that freedom lead to more risk?
Professor Samuel Peltzman.
In the 70s, U.S. researcher Sam Peltzman noticed a curious relationship between safety and risk. When seatbelts became mandatory, they had no effect on the number of people dying in highway crashes. His theory, the safer people feel, the greater risk they'll take on.
We'll see the Peltzman effect, the idea that we'll take more risk because vaccines are out there reducing our risk, even if we're not vaccinated.
The bioethicist points to Israel as an example, where more than half the country is vaccinated and things are getting back to normal. Israel has a population similar to Quebec, but it's still averaging 4 times as many new cases of COVID-19 as the province. The feeling the pandemic is nearly over may be premature.
People are bad at estimating how big these risks are. They're bad at estimating how much their risk has been reduced, and they're bad at estimating how much more risk they're going to take on by engaging in this behavior.
But psychologists say the Peltzman effect is not inevitable here. Our desire to cut loose could still be kept in check with the right public health message and measures tailored to the post-vaccination recovery.
There is an enormous public education endeavor that's yet to be embarked upon, and that I don't know if we're fully prepared for.
Just how prepared we are will become clear once more Canadians get vaccinated. Wikidopia, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, a Humboldt crash survivor reflects on life after tragedy. In his final months of university, Caleb Dahlgren pens his story.
And at 19 minutes in front of 7 o'clock on this Tuesday night, a live look at downtown, the Port of Vancouver, the North Shore Mountains. A few more clouds today, but another nice day on the south coast. Tomorrow looking okay too. But a system is heading our way, what it means for later in the week with Johanna. Next.
New puppies, new businesses, new hobbies. Whether you're a pandemic baker rising sourdough or redecorating your downtown apartment, people have been evaluating every part of their lives and what they can do. 89-year-old Alex Miles was separated from his wife of 65 years because of the pandemic.
Affected me, of course. I get lonesome at times. I get a little discouraged. I actually even feel a little depressed at times. But I got thinking, okay, we don't know how long this is going to last or how long either one of us are going to last. So I thought, okay, I got to do something about this. I bought a pair of ski pants. At my age, buying ski pants. And I started to walk.
Miles now walks twice a day, 5 times a week. In Saskatoon, a couple had been planning a business for years until the pandemic hit. Then they realized a pandemic may actually help their shop, a consignment store specializing in outdoor equipment and clothing. They opened their doors last October.
Getting outside, I guess, got people a break from,
their indoor lives. So I think that was a huge part of just embracing where we live and making the best of the situation.
And I think it just brings a sense of normalcy for people.
The owners have now switched the inventory over to spring and summer wear with the help of more than 300 consigners in Saskatoon. Lastly, a common tale. A Regina woman decided with everything changing, it was time to get a border collie just like when she was growing up. She saved up and found Memphis, a farm dog in need of a new home. Then she lost her job.
Monday, I got the layoff notice, and I was like, well, damn, like, do I keep, like, I already gave my deposit, like, do I just go get this dog? And I thought about it for a little while, and spending those 3 days at home alone doing nothing and not having anybody really solidified my decision to go and get a dog, because I needed something to get me through the pandemic, especially when you live alone. I would spend hours with her outside just laying in the sun or playing fetch in the backyard. Like, being able to do those things with something when you couldn't do them with other people was huge.
Miles, Broden, and Olette say they have no regrets about how they changed their lives during the pandemic. And they say they're grateful they were able to improve parts of their lives during a difficult time. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Regina.
Well, a few killer whales and a brand new calf made a splashy appearance near Victoria yesterday. A group of divers got a welcome surprise as they were coming out of the water at about 11:30 near Beecher Bay. The small cluster of big killer whales were likely there because there's lots of prey for them to feed on in the area. Younger killer whales have a lot of orange coloration, leading the divers to believe one of them was a brand new calf.
Love it when we capture those moments on video. Awesome to
Me
see the whales
too.
diving.
Yeah, that's the news we needed.
That is the news we needed. We also need some other news, Johanna. More sunshine.
I can do it for another day, I think. I think I can get us some blue patches tomorrow, but as I mentioned, rain is coming for the second half of the week. Let's start off with the big picture. I want to show you the temperatures across the country. Interestingly, sort of sharing in some calmer weather from almost coast to coast, a rare day where we had pretty much no watches or warnings anywhere in Canada. Seeing some cooler temperatures stick around in through Atlantic Canada, but warming up for the Great Lakes and the prairies, quite warm in through Edmonton with that southwesterly flow coming in. And we're going to see that southwesterly flow really start to bump temperatures up in the interior tomorrow. Look at our satellite and radar in through the south coast. Actually, a very clear night right now. If you can catch the next, I think we're almost at, 40 minutes left of sunshine before we see that sunset. It is going to be a relatively clear overnight. As we head into the Wednesday morning forecast, we do have some clouds rolling in with that next low, as I mentioned, but no watches or warnings to speak of across the province. Looking at a mix of sun and cloud for most of the interior. 12 and through Kelowna, this is automatic model data. I think that we might actually see temperatures in the Okanagan inch into the 13, 14 degree range for tomorrow. Not out of the question. You can see Prince Rupert, though, getting some rain. This has been your story for the week, 20 to 30 millimeters today, and that rain will continue through tomorrow morning, but that low is sinking across the province, as I mentioned. In fact, let's take a look at how this plays out, because it's not as straightforward as our usual Aleutian lows. So high pressure tracks inland, we lose that protective shield. But look as that moisture stream sort of stalls out over Port Hardy. We really don't get that system moving in. It's this low pressure system coming in from the southwest. That's what will bring us the rain for Thursday. And as I mentioned, some warmer temperatures ahead of it for the interior next couple of days. We'll see those milder temperatures in our forecast tomorrow afternoon, feeling a little warmer out there. Just a few blue sky breaks. And as we head into the afternoon, definitely looking at increasing cloud. Mike and Anita, though, the rain should hold off until Thursday mid-morning, I'm thinking, but be prepared for a Friday washout at this point. Still hoping for some weekend sun.
All right, Friday washout. We'll note that and look forward to the weekend, hopefully. All right, Joe,
Sounds
thanks very
good.
much. Well, the Humboldt Broncos bus crash is, of course, seared into the memory of many Canadians.
A sudden moment of loss and grief that stunned the hockey community. Most survivors were robbed of their promising futures.
One story is perhaps less known, that of crash survivor Caleb Dahlgren, who shares his experience in a new book. He opened up to Karen Pauls about his life after the crash.
For Caleb Dahlgren, the hockey rink is his happy place.
When you're out there, it just feels effortless, and it feels like you're flying in a sense. Like you're just gliding on the ice, and it feels like high speed, obviously, because you are going really fast, and it feels super smooth.
Smooth is not how you describe the past 3 years of his life.
I feel the pain, I feel the hurt, but I also feel comfort and lots of emotions when they come here every time. Life is so short and fragile.
It was here that the Humboldt Broncos bus crashed on the way to a playoff game in April 2018. Everything changed.
I still can't remember anything that has happened.
13 players, including Dahlgren, were injured. 16 players, coaches, and staff members died.
We are at one of the biggest crossroads in my life, but there was many before, and there'll be many afterwards. And we all have our different crossroads and how we want to choose to respond to them.
Is there any pressure that...
Dahlgren left the hospital recovering from his own brain, neck, and back injuries, struggling to come to terms with what happened, a journey he describes in a new book.
I do want to make an impact on this world. I want to leave a positive impact. And so I thought by doing a book, I could leave my positive mark on the world and honestly set down the Broncos side of me.
Setting down that side has proven difficult. He couldn't walk down the street without being stopped by strangers who wanted to ask him about the crash. So he found a spot by the river to escape.
This was my place to get away, to hide in a sense, but also to heal too. To grow, to learn, to understand, to conquer, but also to feel a sense of healing and hope for the future that what's to come, but also to reflect on what has been lost and what I've been through.
While reflecting, he noticed the birds on the bridge and the stars in the sky, inspiration for this tattoo.
And the stick and the puck, where we had a bond through hockey on ice. And the skate marks are the scars sketched into my soul. 13 birds in a V formation, and it's for the 13 survivors of that day. We have 16 stars up in here, and the 16 stars are the ones that aren't here who shine their light on my soul. And the light beams for finding the positive overnight of even in the darkest times, and to be that light. Oh, good try.
Before the crash, Dahlgren was offered a spot on the York University hockey team, the same team his Broncos assistant coach Mark Cross had been on.
When Mark Cross, who's the epitome of being a Lion, says someone else is a Lion, it made it very easy to make a decision on Caleb.
Despite his injuries, Dahlgren practiced and worked out with the team, but was never cleared to play in a game.
It's pretty surreal. Unbelievable, honestly.
Now, with his book launched and about to graduate with a commerce degree, Dahlgren is planning on a career as a chiropractor, hoping to help others as he also continues to heal.
At the end of the day, there's so much strength in being vulnerable and opening yourself up, and I think this can hopefully develop some conversations around other people's households and also generate some awareness around topics that aren't really discussed. And so I wanted to use it to help, and I think that in return, it's helped me just as much, if not even more. The wind goes through your hair and you can hear your skates. And that was what I fell in love with at the start, and that's what I still love about the sport today.
Dahlgren's days of competitive hockey may be over, but so much of his life is still ahead of him, and he's grateful.
You can't escape away from what happened. I think you have to face it head on, honestly. And you have to use it either as motivation or as something that you want to make a difference. But you still have to try to find the positive. You have to be thankful that you're here and make the most of every day.
Dahlgren is skating confidently into his future, living every day in memory of those 16 who can't. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Preparations are underway for a key Persian festivity. How the celebration is being adapted here in BC because of the pandemic, coming up.
We build our brand on the premise of diversity, and that's really important to me as a model coming from the runway and now behind the scenes. I wanted to provide a platform where talent like myself and talented individuals who normally were sort of outcast from the industry got a space that was theirs and they can shine just as bright as anyone else. I'm Salitha Short, the founder of Soli Production Management Inc. It's a talent agency, a production company, and a coaching company all combined in one. When I started first, photographers here didn't want to shoot black models, and they would tell them, and it broke me. I'm from the Caribbean island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and back in my island, I am the majority. So I didn't have to deal with a lot of that type of discrimination until I sort of came here in this industry. And I wanted to do something to change the narrative around the industry and around how we saw each other, because it's an isolating feeling. Even though a community of people are sharing that same story, you're so alone when it's happening to you. And in the fashion industry, you're even more isolated from the pack.
She's clearing the space for people that look like her so that all faces and all people are represented. We're just striving for change. We want things to be different. All of our models are so talented, but it's so much easier to get our white models in the door.
For me personally, this journey has been about, accepting myself, because not being able to see that representation on the runway was like, okay, where are the South Asian models, right?
I asked her at one point, so you should be, are you looking for mature models? And she said, no. And I said, you're not? And she says, no, I'm looking for talent. So at that point I said, here's the contract.
Talent doesn't have an age on it. Beauty and your purpose in a particular space that you feel is your destiny shouldn't be determined by someone's idea of boxing that into that particular area, or one version of beauty is celebrated. I wanted to showcase and have these representations so other people can see themselves in our agency, a reflection of our community, to see the growth with everybody around us and how we are all focused on one vision, and that is inclusivity. I can't ask for more.
We're pushing hard to make change in this world and to get these guys seen. They're so talented and their skin shouldn't matter.
If you see us as just individuals and embrace our similarities, it will start shifting the conversation for change. That's my hope.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. Join CBC Vancouver's Gloria Makarenko at 2 upcoming events. Don't miss West Coast Leafs Breakfast for Dinner, a unique virtual celebration on March 24th. Enjoy a joyous and thought-provoking evening, all for a great cause. And on April 25th, enjoy the beautiful art of food at Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival's Sakura at Home fundraiser. Visit vcbf.ca for tickets and more information.
Around the world and here in BC, the Persian community is getting ready for Scarlet Wednesday.
It's an Iranian fire jumping festival celebrated before Nowruz, the Persian New Year.
Here's a look at the celebration and how it's being adapted this year because of the pandemic.
Fire has always been a source of energy, a source. See, when we light a fire, it's going up. It's always aspiration to go higher and higher and higher.
Everybody's having to adapt, just different again this year.
And now's the time of year where a lot of festivals are taking place. Hopefully things will be different next year.
Yes, we can hope. Okay, thanks for watching tonight. Just a reminder, you can always watch our newscasts online anytime, cbc.ca/BC.
Dan Bird is here at 11 after the National. Have a good night.
Good night.